How many times does a kid have to be right before anyone believes him? If you're Bart Simpson, the answer is basically never. Town troublemaker, prank king, the one person Springfield trusts least. So when he says there's a monster on the bus, or the friendly new neighbor is a wanted criminal, everyone just rolls their eyes. And every time, he's right and they're wrong. This is every time Bart Simpson called it, and got treated like a liar for it. Let's start with the time Bart was staring at an actual literal monster, and still couldn't get a single person to believe him. It's a Treehouse of Horror 4 segment called Terror at 5.5 feet, so it's non-canon, a Halloween story, and a straight riff on that old Twilight Zone, where a guy on a plane sees a gremlin tearing the wing apart. Here it's a school bus. Bart's already rattled after a nightmare about the bus crashing, and then, through the window, in the rain, he sees it. A gremlin, hanging off the side, calmly pulling the bus to pieces. He does the sensible thing. He tells everyone, and every time somebody turns to look, the gremlin ducks out of sight, and Bart's the one who looks unhinged. So Otto, Skinner, Willie, the whole bus, decides Bart's melting down, and they spend their energy holding him down instead of, checking. The creature just keeps working. Bart eventually climbs out of a moving bus and chases it off with a flare, which does not help his case for being the calm and rational one. Then they get to school, and the entire side of the bus is shredded. Real damage. He was right the whole time, and for being right, Bart gets carted off to a mental institution, because being right in a disruptive way is still disruptive. On the way out, the gremlin turns up one last time, holding a little souvenir from Ned Flanders.
I'll leave home, Bart!
Just so we're completely sure Bart wasn't imagining any of it. That's Bart against a literal monster. The unsettling part is that the version with no monster at all plays out almost exactly the same way. In The Bob Next Door, a friendly new guy moves onto the Simpsons street and the whole block loves him. Everyone except Bart, who takes one listen to the man's voice and knows exactly who he's looking at.
Hello, Bart.
Huh? Say that again.
Hello, Bart.
His name's Walt Warren. He shows up after a batch of low-level prisoners gets released, and he's charming. But Bart goes cold, because that is Sideshow Bob. No question in his mind. Now put yourself in Marge's shoes for a second. Bob has tried to kill her son more than once. Of course she assumes Bart's just traumatized and seeing his worst nightmare in a friendly stranger. So to prove there's nothing to worry about, she takes Bart down to the prison, and there's Bob, locked up tight in a padded cell, scrawling threats about Bart on the wall. Seems airtight. Bart must be wrong, except he isn't. Walt takes Bart out to a baseball game, slips his shoes off, and reveals a pair of perfectly normal feet that had been folded up inside them the entire time. It's Bob. He's wearing Walt's face, surgically swapped, and the real Walt is the poor guy stuck in that cell. And that threatening message on the wall had been Walt trying to warn Bart all along. Spotting a threat everyone else misses is impressive enough, but Bart hasn't only spotted things, he's cracked them. Go all the way back to season 1, to Krusty Gets Busted, for maybe the cleanest example of it. Bart's hero, Krusty the Clown, gets arrested for robbing the Quickie Mart. Homer's the eyewitness. He picks Krusty out of the lineup, Krusty gets convicted, his merchandise gets burned in the streets, and Sideshow Bob quietly takes over the show. Everyone accepts it. Bart refuses. At first, that's pure loyalty. He just can't believe his hero did it. But then he actually starts thinking. The robber used the store microwave, and Krusty's got a pacemaker he's been warned to keep away from microwaves. The robber read a magazine, and Krusty can't read. Bob waves all of it away. But then Bart notices the clue that sticks. When Homer stepped on the robber's foot during the holdup, the guy yelped. His foot filled the whole front of that giant clown shoe. And the real Krusty has tiny feet swimming around in his. So when Bob makes a smug little crack about having big shoes to fill, Bart connects it live on air and drags the truth out in front of the whole studio audience. Bob confesses. He framed Krusty because he was sick of being humiliated and wasted for years. A 10-year-old out-investigated Homer, the cops, and an entire courtroom because he was the only one who bothered to look twice. Being that observant is easy to admire. The show's slicker trick was making Bart look completely deranged, and right anyway. This is Brother's Little Helper, and in it, Bart looks totally unhinged. After he wrecks the school one time too many, he gets diagnosed with an attention problem and put on an experimental drug called Focusin, and it works for a bit. He's calm, he's focused, he's a model student. Then it curdles. Bart goes paranoid and starts insisting Major League Baseball is watching Springfield by satellite. He wraps himself in tinfoil. The doctors clock the drug's nasty side effects and pull him off it, which, to everyone watching, just confirms the satellite thing was the medication talking. Then he overdoses, steals a tank, drives it through town, and fires the cannon straight up into the sky. And he hits something, a Major League Baseball baseball satellite comes down in pieces, and those pieces are stuffed with detailed files on the people of Springfield. He was right, they were watching. Mark McGuire smooths the whole thing over by belting a home run so everyone forgets what they just saw. And the bat he hands Bart has a camera hidden inside it because the spying isn't stopping. Most of the time though, being right cost Bart something. And once, it nearly cost him everything just to tell the truth about someone else. The boy who knew too much. Bart skips school. Normal Tuesday. He ends up sneaking around the Quimby compound, and he's tucked under a table when Mayor Quimby's nephew, Freddie, gets into a screaming match with a waiter over how to pronounce the word chowder. Later, that same waiter turns up badly hurt, and Freddie gets charged with assault. Everyone at the trial takes one look at Freddie, hot-headed, entitled, hurling threats in the courtroom, and decides he's guilty. But Bart knows he didn't do it because Bart watched the whole thing. The waiter hurt himself in a long chain of clumsy accidents, and nobody else was there to see it. But Bart's got a problem. The only way to clear Freddie is to admit he skipped school, which means throwing himself in front of Skinner. So he sits on it while the jury inches toward a guilty verdict, and then he stands up and tells the truth anyway. The waiter tries to insist he isn't clumsy and instantly proves the opposite with another spectacular pratfall, which pretty much settles it. Freddie walks, and Bart, for doing the right thing, gets 4 months of detention for skipping school in the first place. Freddie isn't even likable, and that's the part that gets me. Bart didn't speak up because he liked the guy. He spoke up because he saw what happened, and what happened was the truth. Telling the truth to save someone else is one kind of trouble. Being the one everybody's already convicted is a whole other kind. Take Bart the murderer. The time Bart stood trial for murdering his own principal. Bart stumbles into Fat Tony's club and somehow becomes the mob's favorite little bartender. It's going great until Skinner sticks him in detention and makes him late for the guys, so Fat Tony's crew decides to go have a friendly word with the principal about it. Then Skinner vanishes, just gone. And since everyone knows Bart had a grudge and mob connections, the finger points straight at him. The police raid the club and drag Bart in with the whole gang. At trial, Fat Tony, Legs, and Louie happily throw Bart under the bus and paint him as the pint-sized mastermind running the whole operation. And it works, because it fits. Bart's reputation does the prosecution's job for them. It gets so bad that even Homer half believes his own son might have done it. Bart's about to go down for murder, and then the courtroom doors swing open and Skinner strolls in, completely alive. Turns out he'd been trapped under an avalanche of old newspapers in his own garage for a week. That's it. That's the entire mystery. The impossible, ridiculous explanation was true, and the airtight case against Bart was built on nothing but his record. And believe it or not, the show liked that setup so much, it ran the whole thing back years later. In Dark Knight Court, someone loads rotten eggs into the school band's brass instruments, and the second the kids start playing, the whole crowd gets pelted. Instantly, every eye swings to Bart. It's exactly his kind of prank, so obviously it's him. He swears he didn't do it, and for once, the audience should actually believe him. He passes a little truth test Lisa runs using Maggie, so Lisa takes up his defense in a school trial. The trouble is, when your client has Bart's rap sheet, putting his character on the stand is a bloodbath. Every past prank comes out, and the verdict starts sliding toward guilty with zero actual evidence tying him to the eggs. Then Marge and Lisa spot it. There's a single egg stain on groundskeeper Willie's kilt, and it's been crushed there by hand. Willie's the guy. He rigged the whole thing out of his own grudge against Easter, and he tries to destroy the evidence before anyone catches on. He gets caught anyway, thanks to Mr. Burns, of all people, running around as a superhero, and Bart's cleared just in time. Fun bit of trivia here. The judge in Bart's trial was voiced by a real former U.S. Attorney General, Janet Reno, who donated her whole fee from the episode to the Innocence Project, the actual group that works to free people who were wrongly convicted, which fits. Courtrooms were one thing. Bart also took on something Springfield treated as holy writ, and he did it as the single worst student in the building. In Whacking Day, Springfield's got a snake-beating holiday it treats as sacred history. The entire town herds snakes into the square and beats them, and everyone treats it as a proud tradition going all the way back to the founder, Jebediah Springfield, in 1775. Lisa's the one who thinks the whole thing is monstrous, and she's dead right about that. But Bart's the one who blows the story wide open. He'd been expelled and was getting homeschooled by Marge, and somewhere in there he catches the history bug and starts poking holes in the official version. And the dates don't line up. Jebediah supposedly founded Whacking Day in 1775, but he was also supposedly off attacking Fort Ticonderoga at the same time. He can't be in both places. Bart keeps digging and finds the ugly truth. Whacking Day only started in 1924, invented as an excuse to beat up Irish immigrants. On top of cracking that, he works out you can lure the snakes to safety with deep bass vibrations and ropes in Barry White to literally sing them out of harm's way. Then he lays the real history out for the whole town, and Springfield actually turns on its own tradition. Up to now, Bart's been right about facts, but there's one where he's right about a person, and that one cuts a little deeper. It starts when Bart accidentally destroys the belongings of a homeless woman named Hetty, feels bad about it, and secretly lets her crash in his closet. Lisa discovers Hetty's actually a gifted folk singer and gets completely swept up in it. She's going to launch launch this woman's whole career. She records her, promotes her, lines up an NPR interview and a real concert. And Bart, the supposedly careless one, is the one pumping the brakes. He warns Lisa not to pour her entire heart into this, because Hetty might let her down, and Lisa is not going to take it well when she does. Lisa waves him off. Then Hetty melts down during the NPR interview, revealing a serious drug problem and a violent streak. And on the night of the big concert, she just disappears. Lisa tries to hold the crowd on her own, bombs, and stands there heartbroken while everyone files out. Bart and Homer eventually track Hetty down drinking at Cletus's farm, but by then the damage to Lisa is already done. Now Hetty does resurface later and there's a bit of a reconciliation, so it's not that Bart was right about everything. It's that he read the situation and the person more honestly than Lisa ever did. That was Bart being right about someone he was trying to help. This next one, he's right about someone he'd completely fallen for. In Bart's Girlfriend, Bart falls hard for Jessica Lovejoy, the Reverend's daughter. This sweet, polished, perfect little minister's kid, except she isn't sweet at all. She's a bigger troublemaker than Bart is. She just has the halo to hide behind. One Sunday at church, Jessica lifts the entire collection plate of money, then slides the empty plate straight into Bart's lap and leaves him holding the bag. And the whole congregation buys it in a heartbeat, because obviously the delinquent robbed the church. Just look at him. Nobody can even picture the Reverend's angelic daughter doing a thing like that. And this is the part where Bart's both a little noble and a little dumb. He knows full well Jessica did it, but he keeps his mouth shut at first because he still likes her, right up until it dawns on him that she's perfectly content to let him take the fall. In the end, it takes Lisa believing him and helping search Jessica's room to turn up the stolen money and prove it. And then the same congregation that was ready to bury Bart has to stand there and apologize to him. He'd been telling the truth the whole time. He just picked the one week nobody on earth was going to take his word over hers. Not every one of these was about clearing his name though. Sometimes Bart was just plain right to care about something when nobody else could be bothered. The last one, Lemon of Troy, Marge gives Bart a lecture about taking some pride in his hometown, and it actually sticks, which is already a small miracle for a kid who spends most of his waking hours defacing the place. So when a gang of Shelbyville kids sneaks over and steals Springfield's beloved lemon tree, this dumb old tree the town is weirdly proud of, Bart's the one who takes it seriously while the adults basically shrug it off. He rounds up Millhouse, Nelson, Martin, Todd, and Database and leads a full cross-border raid into Shelbyville to get it back. He's right that the Shelbyville kids took it. He tracks it down to an impound lot, and when the owner won't hand it over, Bart cooks up a Trojan horse. Literally, they get Flanders' RV impounded, hide inside it, and sneak the tree out under cover of night. It works. They bring it home. Nobody's doubting Bart on this one, but it's clean proof of the same thing all the others show, that when Bart decides something matters, his judgment and his planning tend to run circles around the grown-ups standing around doing nothing. If you had fun with this one, do me a favor and hit subscribe. My goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and everyone genuinely gets me closer. See you in the next one.